when you pitch these kind of tokens to people, the reservation is that, okay, so I have to really, really be good at voting to be able to earn the growth of the protocol revenue. And I also have to lock this for 2 years to be able to earn this protocol revenue, which doesn't really make that much sense when currently, technically, the growth of the protocol and growth of the revenue is only being distributed to a small portion of really good voters. From our estimate, it's about 7 to 8% of Pendle token holders, majority of which are probably team members, which are very familiar with the system. Yeah, so doesn't make sense for us.
I just wanted to let you know, jail's not that bad. It's
All views expressed by the hosts and guests in this podcast are solely their opinions and do not reflect the opinions of their respective employers. Guests and hosts may maintain positions in the assets discussed in this podcast. This podcast is for informational purposes only, and nothing in the podcast is intended to be financial, legal, or even life advice.
GM, we are live. You are like right on time.
Literally right on time. We just clicked on live button.
What's up, man?
Very good.
How are you doing?
Haven't chatted with you guys in a while. Very good. Very busy. We just announced something 2.5 hours ago. So yeah, I don't have my usual setup with me, so because I'm out.
No, it's good, man. Like, thanks for making the time. I know you just launched something. That's one of the reasons why I want to chat with you. I hope that I tagged like your account and like other account correctly. You know, like I was like, man, this guy isn't even like verified on X.
I'm low key.
But yeah, it's the last time that we talked, we were chatting about Boros and like all of that. So I think this time around we want to cover the new thing that you just announced. Maybe Ambro, maybe we just like jump right into that. If you want to set the stage, share with the audience. Like what is new?
I've been good. I'll get through them for a little bit more time. I think at least for the announcement that we just made, I think it's been in development for quite a while already. It's a problem that we knew since very early on. It's just something that we wondered whether it makes sense for us to transition away from vePENDLE or not. I think eventually we made the call to transition away from vePENDLE, and now here we are. It's been pretty good. I've been a busy couple of days. I think that's just part 1 of the announcement. There's another part 2 anyway.
How about this? Let's start with the history of vePENDLE. How does that work? Why did you guys chose this at the start? Let's start with that.
Yeah, cool. Pretty simple. It started from V curve actually. The idea is pretty simple. I'll just go to the vePENDLE without going to V curve. Is you lock your token for X amount of time, 2 years or maximum, or the longer you lock, the more vePENDLE you get, and the shorter you lock, the less vePENDLE you get. And each vePENDLE represents a power to vote for a certain pool. You channel emission there. You also get incentives from the pool that you voted for, you also earn yield from revenue share of the protocol. The idea is pretty simple. The objective is also pretty simple, where the longer you lock, the more equity you get for the protocol, and the more you're entitled to when it comes to revenue distribution for the protocol. Yeah, I think it worked out pretty well for VE Curve. And I think it worked out pretty well for us in the early days, but I think after a while we started to see its limitations and we decided to pivot away from it. I think out of all the VE system as well, Pendle is the lowest performing one in terms of percentage of tokens locked compared to FDV. We have about 20% of Pendle supply locked.
20% locked,
which is not the best.
When did the VE concept started again for Pendle? Like, was it like 2 years ago or like a year ago?
It started day one, Pendle V2. Yeah, from day one of Pendle V2.
Day one of Pendle V2. Got it.
Yeah,
so it's been like quite some time.
Yeah, it's been around for quite a while. 3 years, I think, at this point.
So when did you start triggering to? What was the trigger to, let's say, goodbye vePENDLE?
I don't think there's a very strong trigger, but I can just run through with you some of the problems that made us like, I think it's about time for us to get away from this. Pretty simple. 3 main core part of vePENDLE: boosting, where if you hold vePENDLE, you get more LP rewards; voting, where you channel incentive to pools; and revenue share, where you earn a portion of the pool's fee, or the protocol's fee. If you vote for a pool that generates a lot of fees, you get more yield. Now, I'll run through these very, very quickly. It's a problem with all three. Now, first one, on the boosting side, just to give a bit more context, we have about 10% of Pendle supply that are organic between individuals. The other 10% are in liquid lockers. For context, our TVL is over 3B now, and the percentage of people who are actually max boosted is less than 100 million TVL, while they hold a decent chunk of vePENDLE. That means two things. One, the people who are in vePENDLE are not really that interested or incentivized to boost their yields through LPs, and two, people who are LPs are also not interested in getting the max boost anyway. So these two concepts initially we thought were a very strong reason for one another, but I think they
Right.
kind of decouple for market participants. So that's for boosting. For voting, voting is basically you vote for a pool, that pool gets Pendle emission. The idea is good. The idea is also protocols want to vote for their own pool, because if Pendle gets TVL, your pool gets TVL. Idea is good at the start. It worked out at the start, but I think where we are right now, I think it's about time for us to grow away from it. The reason being, majority of our incentives actually goes to pools that are unproductive. To give a bit of
I see.
context, a couple of months ago, the bottom 10% of fee contributing pools, basically these contribute like the bottom 10% of fees, they take up more than half of our emission.
I see.
So we introduced some form of caps back then, but I think that treats a symptom rather than treating the actual problem. So it helped the metrics a little bit, but then I think the problem is in the underlying mechanism itself. Now that's on the bottom performing pools. On the high performing pools, it's also kind of shit, because on the high performing pools, we frankly don't need that much incentives. Why?
Yeah,
Because
it's
we
already performing
found that
anyway. Yeah.
because it's actually not really that. Our majority of our volume goes through our order book. We have an order book system that is built on top of the AMM, and the order book is unincentivized. And majority of our volume goes through the order book, and the majority of revenue goes through the order book, and we're incentivizing the LPs, which are only facilitating less than 25% of the volume of the top pools. So we frankly don't need that much incentives for a pool that works. What we need incentive for is to bootstrap pool to get to that stage where it works, or the middle of the pack, middle of performing pools where they scale based on liquidity, and when there's TVL, people start trading those pools. That's where we need incentives. So we don't need incentives for the top pool and the bottom pool. So that's all for the voting part. And just a final point before I close. I know it's been a while.
No, it's good.
Regarding revenue share for vePENDLE. Now, vePENDLE has been offering crazy high yields. We're offering about 40 to 80% of APY if you're a good voter. But even then, that has not been enough to incentivize people to lock vePENDLE. First, potentially because of its complexity, and you have to vote every week to be able to get that amount, and you have to know how to vote. And second, the locking requirement is 2 years. And when we pitch to, generally when you pitch these kind of tokens to people, the reservation is that, okay, so I have to really, really be good at voting to be able to earn the growth of the protocol revenue. And I also have to lock this for 2 years to be able to earn this protocol revenue, which doesn't really make that much sense when currently, technically, the growth of the protocol, growth of the revenue is only being distributed to a small portion of really good voters. From our estimate, it's about 7 to 8% of Pendle token holders, majority of which are probably team members, which are very familiar with the system. Yeah. So it doesn't make sense for us to be earning the growth of the protocol revenue. So if you look at it, technically,
so
the valuation of the company,
you guys are trimming your employer's benefit.
kind of. Yeah. But if you think about it, it doesn't make sense for the entire company to only pay dividends to like a very, very small portion of the supply holders. Yeah, and then eventually, with all these problems, we realized that, okay, fine, it makes sense for us to relook into it and solve all these issues. So we came up with sPENDLE, which we just announced 2.5 hours ago.
Okay,
got it.
Remember,
you want to recap
I know, I know there's a lot of things, but TLDR that it sounded like vePENDLE first is complicated for actual long-term holders that to stake, hard to get the best incentives. It's hard for people to lock unless they're very convicted, because the carrot is not big enough, essentially. Third, it's not incentivized or promoting the right action, that Pendle actually needs, as like most of the trading happens on the order book instead of like just the initial LPs. And then
And the bottom
obviously
10%
there are
of the
people
flows and
that
so on.
yeah, and obviously there are people that are like using the bribe system, which is by design to get the maximize emission. Okay, so that's my view on it. Okay, let's say if I am just a trader, I don't really touch the DeFi stuff. I understand it, but I don't like to play the games. TLDR, what impact does it have in terms of like emission, token, number of tokens, etc.? Like I just want to look at it from a number point of view. What's going to change from here? There's no is the emission reduced?
Yep.
Are the vePENDLEs all going to be unlocked? Or like what's the trading dynamic of this?
Yeah, so to give a bit more perspective on this, I think vePENDLE has 20% of supply currently locked, majority of which are locked for 2 years, and a small portion of it, I would say like a quarter of it is 1 month to 1 quarter, or a 3-month period of unlock. So majority of it is locked for 2 years. Now, with now that we're deprecated vePENDLE, there's sPENDLE. There are two parts to this. One, we can't unlock everyone straight away because vePENDLE contract is immutable. So the supply side, nothing much will change, at least for now. Well, because vePENDLE is immutable and we cannot unlock people, we have to obviously compensate the vePENDLE holders because of their lack of liquidity, because they can't move their assets because they're locked for 2 years. So what we're doing is basically, if you have 2 years locked vePENDLE, we're just going to give you a virtual balance of sPENDLE boosted by 4x if you lock for 2 years, and if you lock for less than that, then obviously you get less boost. Pretty simple, and then it decays to 1x after 2 years. So it's basically like a concessional boost to compensate you for your lack of liquidity because you're locked for 2 years. And also you've been pretty loyal follower, loyal participant for Pendle in a sense. Now that's one. And then second, to your question on supply and emissions, how would that look like? Now, because we are deprecating vePENDLE, we need to have a new emission or rather new incentive model on how we incentivize pools. We haven't really released that yet. We'll probably release that in a week. But the whole idea of the new incentive model is going to be algorithmically determined. But the idea is pretty simple. If a pool performs well, it will get more incentive. If a pool performs badly, it will slowly see its right to incentive decline. And if a bad performing pool suddenly performs well, you will see the adjustment of the incentives very fast. It will immediately be reflected in the amount of emission that they'll get. It will behave exactly like how you expect something to behave. And after looking at how much incentive have we paid and then how much we actually need, with the new incentive model, we should be able to shave emissions immediately by about 30%. Yeah, that's kind of where we're looking at right now. So supply will change.
Can I ask you what are the numbers? Like when you say 30%, how much is that per week? How many number of tokens of Pendle is that per week?
Don't really have it at the back of my head, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that 30% of the total emission or just 30%
the weekly
reduced?
Basically, every we have weekly emissions that goes to incentive, and basically we just shaving 30%. You can think of it as like shaving costs by 30%. Or if you assume all the emissions are being dumped by farmers, 30% less sell pressure, I guess. If you want to think about it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me being very honest.
No worries. There's also a buyback component for sPENDLE, which I haven't covered yet. But yeah, go ahead.
No, like I was just gonna say, yeah. So like before we get into buyback, which is like a topic that everybody likes, I think the details around the boost multiplier and like all of that is on the latest article. Like folks, if you are a holder and you want to like understand a bit better like how all of that work, like all of the details are here. So I just want to like point that out. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about buybacks. I saw TN saying that generating 37 mil in 2025. How much is that going to be in a buyback? How does the buyback actually happens, and what kind of like the overarching numbers right now?
Sure. I don't have a good sense of numbers at the moment, but what I can give you is how much yield that sPENDLE can be. We can expect using last year's revenue, sPENDLE should probably generate around, ideally, 12 to 17% in APY. But that's assuming a flat sPENDLE supply. But then obviously, because we have a bunch of vePENDLE holders who are getting boosted sPENDLE, at the start sPENDLE is kind of diluted because there's an oversupply of sPENDLE because it's vePENDLE holders. But I think eventually it will decay to baseline, and then everyone just gets the yield that we estimate. That's assuming, of course, zero revenue growth and no Boros revenue being used for sPENDLE.
Let's say if we are like a liquid fund and you're like pitching to like these liquid funds that like try to buy blue chip stocks and so on, in a couple sentences, like I guess like what has changed now, like other than the fact that hey, there's no more locking, right? So like you can, because like some funds have like mandate of like 1 year like redemption and so on. So like if you force them to lock for 2 years, then they cannot do it and so on. So like yeah, like how would you like renew that pitch right now?
Yeah, old model. I mean, I'm assuming if you're fund, you should probably know vePENDLE. The old model doesn't really take into account the protocol revenue. Doesn't really make sense there because the growth of protocol revenue is only distributed to vePENDLE, which if you can't participate, that's basically useless for you. And the protocol revenue is also not reinvested in the company, so you can think about it as like a vapor revenue. Whereas for sPENDLE, it's a much simpler, lower barrier entry. So if you want to participate, it'll most likely be within your liquidity mandate. Even if you are not participating in sPENDLE, you are also an indirect beneficiary because of the buybacks. This means that if the protocol revenue grows, if you participate in sPENDLE, you would directly benefit from it because you earn yield from it. And if you're not participating in it, you will still somewhat indirectly benefit from the buyback, even though you're not earning the yield. So
Just by holding
that
Pendle
this,
itself.
yeah, I find that this is it's a more equitable solution for everyone, and that's kind of what we're looking at, and we're also reducing emissions. So
So when you buy back, do you buy back the Pendle and give it to the stakers, or do
Yes.
you buy back? Yes. Okay, understood.
it is buyback and redistribute. So assuming everyone sells, it's basically net zero then.
Understood. Okay.
That's well, I guess
Okay.
because of what we said, I guess we pretty much covered sPENDLE already. It's a very simple mechanism. We just take protocol revenue, buy back Pendle token, redistribute it to sPENDLE holders, and the withdrawal period is 14 days, and that's pretty much it.
What about all the liquid staked Pendles?
Those will be. I'm assuming you're referring to liquid lockers. Those will be
Yes.
under the respective protocols' discretion to decide how to move on. We have communicated the decision to the liquid lockers, and it's up to them because the assets that they hold belongs to them anyway.
Makes sense.
Understood.
Got it. I mean, like, I don't want to glaze them too much, Lambert, if you don't have like anything else, but like, I like the fact that you guys are like consistently one of the few teams that are working on the token part, because like I feel like a lot of the time like folks forget about the token. So yeah, this is good.
What about the Boros revenue, by the way?
Yeah, we haven't really decided on how Boros revenue is gonna play out with sPENDLE. I think for Pendle V2, because it's a mature product and vePENDLE was a very integral part of the product, meaning vePENDLE dictates how the incentive flow in the entire system is. vePENDLE transition to sPENDLE will also affect Pendle V2 a lot. So V2 revenue is very directly impacting sPENDLE because that's where the core protocol revenue comes from. Boros is still rather small, but growth is extremely good. So we haven't really exactly decided on how it will play in the broader system yet, or how it will best be played. But I think right now we're still reinvesting the proceeds to the company just to make sure we get to a stage where it can be self-sustaining. Ideally, we want to bring Boros to a stage where it's profitable and the benefit should be enjoyed by all Pendle holders. Again, there will be no token for Boros. How exactly it will flow back to Pendle token holders, not sure yet, but I think it is something for us to decide once Boros matures enough. Because right now, even if we redistribute back the revenue to holders, or if we do something with the revenue to sPENDLE, it's not going to make a dent. The Boros as it stands right now, the size is still too small compared to Pendle V2. Shipping away revenue instead of reinvesting it for growth, I would say is not a wise choice for us.
I think that's fair. I mean, like you can't force fit an existing token to a newer product, then you would lose a lot of the optionality that you have anyway. So
yeah.
Yep.
And in terms of spending, I wouldn't say Boros taking up that much as well. also considering it's pretty small. But I think the upside is there, and if just a big if we can get Boros to the same state as Pendle V2, personally I think it's gonna be bigger given the addressable market. But anyways, assuming we can get it to the same size as Pendle V2, it's basically the same token with double the revenue coming from two different protocols and more diversified. Ideally that's where we get to, but yeah, that's where we're trying to get to for now.
How do you think the market is taking to this news?
Pendle, I think it's pretty neutral. Okay, market is shit right now, but I don't think it is gonna be too material. I think this is more of like a long-term play. It makes our job pitching the Pendle valuation much easier, and there's no more 2-year lock. The complexity is gone. If you're a liquidity provider, there's no more yield of up to X% if you're max boosted. If you're a protocol trying to get incentives to the pool, it's not like we're going to force you to bribe or play the vePENDLE game. It's much easier. Everything is just much simpler. So, it's a cleaner structure, so it will help in the long term.
Where do you foresee any impact, or like what do you foresee will happen over the next 6 months with this coming in?
Yeah, I think, well, again, it'll make our job pitching Pendle so much easier. LPs are much cleaner now. For the protocol, like the system of the protocol, I think it makes more sense. It'll make more sense when we announce the new incentive structure, which will likely come out next week, because that's where the bulk of the system change lies in. But for sPENDLE specifically, I would see the participation in the token, in the tokenomics in a sense, much higher. Instead of just 20%. And I mean, even then, we had 20% supply in vePENDLE. Half of it is in liquid lockers. So yeah, we only have like 10% organic lockers. I would say majority of it are like team members, like myself and other people in the team. So in actual terms, like the organic lockers, very few.
Understood. What do you think about So you mentioned about the incentives going to be like based on the trading volume algorithmically, right? Like I'm guessing if that pool gets to trade
It's
more, they
loose, but yes, yeah.
Would you? My Ponzi ass thinking is thinking that it's going to be a farmable thing where some project team's going to do some aggressive trading to get more incentive, then somehow it brings more revenue to Pendle, etc.
You can, but I think these are not really confidential anyway, so I can share this. The way the incentive mechanism works is pretty simple. What you expect will happen should happen, and that's at least the core of the design principle. And generally, what you expect to happen is this: if a pool has a lot of TVL, it should ideally have a lot of incentives. That's true. And if a pool has a lot of volume, it actually deserves a lot of incentive. That's also true. If a pool is new, you ideally should get some level of incentive that will bootstrap it in such a way that it grows to a size that is tradable. That's also true. And finally, given that our limit order system is so much more efficient than the AMM, ideally you want to get a pool to a state where they trade majority on the order book, and then the AMM is supplementary to trade the longer range of assets. That's also true. And that is exactly how it works. The difficult part of this implementation is in the implementation details, which is what is the variable, like, how much does volume contribute to incentive, how much does TVL contribute to incentive, and how all of these variables combine play out into a system that is ideally a beautiful system and it's predictable. So if you want to play the game as a protocol, you can, but the variable also has to be tuned in a way that it's not net extractionary for the protocol. Again, these are all, I would say, more of a variable tuning game, but how it behaves will behave exactly like what you expect it to behave. So there's no more problem where pools that are low performing are being overpaid by incentives, and pools that are high performing are overpaid by incentives as well. So we're basically removing that overpaying. It
just aligns
problem.
Everything better. Yeah.
So that's kind of how it is actually. I think it's just makes sense. It's a change that makes sense. It's nothing too, it's not a big breakthrough. Although engineering wise is quite a challenge, but I don't
Of
think
course.
I think
Yeah.
flexing that is probably irrelevant to most readers anyway. So yeah.
Damn those engineers.
I always respected the fact that they know. You know how most teams, if they do a lot of engineering shit, they like to talk about it, but actually, like Pendle just know what people wants to hear. Okay,
Yeah.
So, what's the any upcoming focus plans, etc., for the next few months for Pendle?
Yeah. Of course, there's always things we're building. Well, the new incentive model is one. I think sPENDLE is something that we've been working on for quite a while. New incentive model ideally shave a lot of emissions. I think over the next couple of months, our focus is more likely on to tune the incentive model in a way that is perfect, because right now we can only speculate based on historical data and what we expect to happen. I think a lot of this variable tuning is going to take quite a while to fully materialize. But I think one of the more exciting short-term focus would be the presence of Pendle's PT. We have this very small feature in the product. We call it cross-chain PT, where we basically take PT and just bridge it to other chains. Then we have currently over 100 mil of PT bridged across chain already. The idea is pretty simple. It's
like PT on Plasma. Yeah.
Yeah, PT. I wouldn't say PT on Plasma actually. It's like Pendle's already on a lot of chains.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that the PTs on that chain can be bridged to other chains. So like, let's say PT, we don't have to be on Solana, but PTs can be on Solana, if you think about it. Or we don't have to be on Ton, but PTs can be on Ton. Basically, we bridge the PT there and let people have access to the PTs. Well, that doesn't sound much at the start, but what people don't realize is how much PTs are being used in money markets. PTs are a fixed yield asset, and if you can use it in money markets to free up a collateral, that's basically like you using a fixed coupon bond as a collateral to do something else. And PT has been a pretty good asset for the lending and borrowing protocols, because a lot of people like to use it as collateral. And we found that we've pretty much at this stage exhausted most money market liquidity already on the chain where PT exists. What we can do is bring PTs to other chain when there are available money market liquidities. And that's what we've been doing, and we found that there is a demand for that, which means Pendle doesn't actually have to exist on all the chains, but a PTs
but
can.
you can just bridge it.
Yeah. So the idea is PT can be everywhere, and that's.
But you guys
kind of
don't
what we're
earn
working
much
towards.
that much fee, right? You're just growing the TVL, but you guys don't earn that much fee since
We
it doesn't
do.
boost any trading volume.
We do. Pendle earns fees from two sources. One is swap fee, obviously, and second is TVL. Because the more PT exists in the circulating system, there will be more YT counterpart that exists. Because PT can't exist without YT, because PT is mint.
Yeah.
And we take fees from the yield portion of YT. So if you think about it, the more volume we have, the more fee, and the more TVL we have, the more fee as well. And the higher yield available, of course, the more fees that we get as well. This scales our revenue as well, and hopefully for sPENDLE.
Okay, next step. The points meta is low-key dead. So what's up with Pendle now?
Points are just a form of yield.
Yes.
Yields will stay. And whenever there's yield, there's Pendle. Generally, whenever there's a new narrative, it involves something alongside yield. I mean, it's been true since DeFi summer, when the coins were all the saga. Then there's Olympus DAO being crazy, offering crazy high yield, and all 3-3 and all the crazy high yields. And then you had Luna and all their crazy fixed yield, 20% yields, and you had a couple of other like perp dexes, which they're HLP yield, GLP yield, if you remember back in Arbitrum days. And then there was also and then there comes a points meta where what do you call eigenlayer
restaking
points, restaking. Their points were pretty popular. Even before restaking, like liquid staking had its days too. When you see like
BTC5, stable coin
BTC5, yes, and then they all generate yield. And if you notice, Pendle has been present in every single one of those narratives. And whenever there's yield, there's there's something. And I think more importantly right now, given funding rate has its own presence now, Boros is there to capture the growth of funding rates in general. So ideally, the end state is whenever there's a percentage number, Pendle or Boros is there. Basically, Pendle as a brand should be there.
Nice. Okay.
Got
it. I don't have any more questions. Do you have any question for us, or do Marco have any more questions?
No, I think this is exciting. I mean, you guys are clearly, you're like aware of like when you have to do something different. And again, as the yield landscape changes, like we can talk for more hours. Like I was like going to ask you about like tranching and blah blah, but we can keep that for the next time when you're on. Yeah.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, but I think we are very, very closely monitoring the yield space, so we are aware of the potential upcoming narratives. And yeah, we just have to position ourselves to be ready for whatever narratives that come. And then Boros is kind of our play to tap into a completely new market. So yeah, pretty excited for what's to come.
Cool,
9% pump from this news. Not bad, not bad. Sadly, I thought of it. My entry was not that great, but yeah. Okay.
That's actually very good given the state of the market.
Yeah,
You would see an announcement, it would like dump 5% instead. So I'm like, this is good. And Bitcoin is down, so it is even better.
Yeah, I would say this is a market agnostic announcement. I think this is generally good for the direction of the protocol. Long term,
I just got an announcement that gold hits all time high again. As just now, so maybe we would do like some gold PT because you see some like tokenized RW are starting to do like gold yield and so on. So like
Well, gold is traded on perps, and there's a funding rate for it. So yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
yeah, soon.
Always be selling. Okay. No, thanks, man.
Always be selling.
All right.
Thank you.
I think we will end today's session, and I'll catch you next time, then. All right, folks.